Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and I love all things beauty and makeup. I've been leaning quite heavily into indie brand eyeshadows, but I love trying new makeup and I love playing with makeup. I also try to use and bring out makeup that I already have in my collection. I've amassed quite a large collection in the 10 plus years that I've been kind of collecting makeup. I just kind of have a habit of getting new makeup and then not letting anything go. So I have a lot of stuff that's maybe quite old and maybe I hang on to it for sentimental purposes. I don't know. I'm trying to form a different thinking pattern around the makeup that I have to try to let some of it go, but I am not a minimalist. I never will be a minimalist, especially when it comes to makeup. So I have the collection that I have and I'm okay with that, and that's just how it is. So today, speaking of indie brand eyeshadow palettes, I'm going to do a ranking of the Fantasy Cosmetica eyeshadow palettes that I have, which I have all of them. I started with just a couple of them, but then the formulas impressed me so much that I just kept getting them until I had them all. So let's do a ranking. I'm going to start with the bottom / least favorite, which none of these are bad. I enjoy using all of them. It's just based on the color stories and how I'm feeling about them currently at this moment in time. So starting at the bottom is the Bard palette. So I don't know that there's like a particular reason that I don't gravitate towards this, but just currently it's not one that calls to mind when I think about using a color story. I think because it kind of reminds me of fall, and it's currently not fall, it's spring leading into summer. Like, it's already been a little bit hot, well, hot to me, which it's funny that I say that because one of my top ones is also kind of like a fall color story. But yeah, I'm not sure why I place it at the bottom. I think so blues for me, like blues and teals, so like those two, these are the Legend and Lore shade. So blues and teals are kind of a weird color for me. Depending on the undertone and how they're leaning, I can put it on the eye and then it just like does not look good. So I think maybe for that reason I'm not like drawn towards this, but I think all the colors are great. It's just not a color story that like calls out to me as wanting to use it a lot right now. So that's why the Bard palette is at the bottom. Next up is the Warlock palette. Again, I'm not entirely sure why. I just have it, like, it just doesn't, like when I think about using Fantasy Cosmetica, this isn't the first palette that comes to mind of one that I want to pull out. I do really enjoy this like pop of lime green, but I feel like when I use this palette, there's only like a couple looks that call out to me to use. And the first one would be using like the deep pink with this purple and then topping it with that one, or using the lime green and this green and then putting this in the outer corner. So I think I feel like I probably need to maybe work with it some more just so that I can get some more inspiration with the colors, or like maybe I should do a bingo with the palettes that I don't reach for a lot, just to sort of break my, like what I would normally use in the color story. So maybe that's something that I should do. Okay, next in the ranking is the Rogue palette. Now, I really like the shimmers that are in here. They're all shimmers that are like super pretty and what I would normally reach for in a shimmer. It's just that the mattes that are in here don't necessarily make me want to reach for it. Again, with like the blues and teals. So the blue that's in here, that's a shade of blue that can kind of sometimes like turn on me when I get it on the eye. So because of that, I tend to not really reach for it, but the shimmers in here are some of my favorite colors from the brand. So I would maybe just need to pull this out with another one to like mix some of the mattes in with the shimmers. Next in the ranking is their latest palette, which is the Wizard palette. Now these are blues, they're like bluey indigo shades that actually do like look good when I put them on. And I really like the Graviturgy, it's not even how you pronounce it, shade, because it's got like holographic shimmers in it. I just find that I kind of only get one or two looks out of this palette. It's either going to be blue or it's going to be yellow, kind of. So like I do like all the shades in here. I just find that it doesn't provide me a lot of variety in terms of the looks that I can create with it. Okay, next in the ranking is the Fighter palette, which I think is kind of the most neutral. So I really like this palette for like keeping things simple and neutral and maybe not really knowing what I want to do, because the mattes are so kind of muted in their colors. It's easy to keep things pretty natural for me, and the shades of the shimmers are ones that like they're kind of the metal variety. And I just find that on me, they are the ones that tend to look neutral. So Fighter palette ranked number 3 for me right now. Number 2 is the Sorcerer palette. Right now for spring and summer, I've been really enjoying leaning into pinks, and I've never really been that much into pinks before. But I find that the looks that I create that are using pinks just like really pop, and they look really great against my blue eyes. And I feel like when I post the looks on Instagram, everyone's like, pink looks so good on you. Which I don't know why I've been so opposed to pink. I think just because it's been like a super girly color, and I've never really been all that girly except for the makeup that I wear. Okay, here's the thing. I like putting on makeup and I like kind of mostly doing my hair, but I would very much want to live in a hoodie. Like, I don't like wearing, not fancy clothes, but I just want to live in loungewear all day. Anyways, so I've really been leaning towards this because I've been super enjoying using pinks, and I love the combination of like with that super bright blue. I think that looks great with the pinks or using it with the purples in here. So loving this palette right now. And the top ranked palette right now for me from Fantasy Cosmetica is the Druid palette. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that it's like talking about fall-ish color stories. I think this also is generally kind of a fall color story, but something about like the earthy tones in it I find just always look good on my eyes, and I love the shifts that the shimmers have in here. I just think that they're all gorgeous, and if I'm wanting to use a Fantasy Cosmetica palette and I'm not really sure what I want to go for, I can pull this, use any one of those shimmers, and just deepen the outer corner up a little bit with any of the deeper matte shades, and the look is good to go. So, Druid, it's great. I also believe that this was the first palette they ever put out. I think so they did it really great the first time. Alright, those are my Fantasy Cosmetica palettes ranked for how I'm feeling right now and sort of what I gravitate towards when I think about wanting to use a Fantasy Cosmetica palette. So I kind of talked about it already, but just the formulas are so great. The mattes are great. They perform really nicely. They blend out really nicely. And the shimmers are some of the best shimmers. They're like sort of understated duo multi-chromes. Like some of them have a shift that you aren't really expecting, but they look beautiful. And they're just really great eyeshadow formulas, and I'm glad that I have all of the palettes, and I'm excited to see what the brand does next. Thank you for watching. If you've tried Fantasy Cosmetica, let me know in the comments what palettes of theirs you have and maybe what's your favorite. Is there anything that didn't work out for you, like color story wise, or maybe the formulas don't work out for you? I'd love to talk about it. And maybe you haven't tried the brand, but do any of these palettes stick out as something that you would want to try? Let me know. And if you're into this kind of thing and you aren't already subscribed, then subscribe before you go. I have been kind of slacking on the videos recently, but I've just sort of been enjoying getting out and about and exploring the little area that I live in now. I moved in November, but as the weather's been warming up, I have been walking more around the area and just sort of seeing what's out there type of thing. So the videos have been a little bit more trickly, but at some point I will pick up the frequency and get back to doing hopefully at least one a week. I've got a couple filmed, I just need to edit them. But I've just been enjoying getting out and enjoying outside, and also sometimes I just want to watch some movies or TV or read a book. So that's kind of just what I've been doing. I only do this as a hobby, so it's not something that I really feel pressured to do, and when inspiration strikes, I will sit down and film a video, but if I'm not feeling it, then I'm not gonna film something. So if you're into that kind of thing, subscribe before you go, hit the like button. Thanks for being here, thanks for sticking around if you already are subscribed, and hopefully you continue to enjoy the content that I put out, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!